Good morning to all. So we are already at the ecology adapt that was so complete the structure of ecology and the dynamics of ecology we are so completed, and so also we are already discussed and completed, that is ecology succession, ecological succession, that is nothing but so after removing of so any other that was ecology ecosystem, so that was mainly occurred inside the aquatic media and bare rock media. So that's what happens is so from that region first mainly so those so washed out area, those are mainly due to the reasons of so earthquake or any other tsunamis or any other natural hazards are leads to cause those are used to remove the complete organisms, complete animal fauna, plant fauna on the surface of the earth region, and that should be also happened inside the rock region and also inside the aquatic media. Again so the ecosystem was reconstruct itself. The reconstruction of an ecosystem was takes place, so that phenomena was considered mainly as the so that is a main combination, that is a main was considered as ecological succession. So we already started in our previous class about the ecological succession. So in ecological succession what happens is so we already discussed, that was a hydrosphere in our previous class, and xerosphere is left, and it is also called as xerorc. So today we move on to discuss about the xerosphere or xerorc. So it is a bare rock area. See this. So these are it is a completely rock and the lichens are developed here, and moss, herbs, shrubs and trees. So from these pioneers are always the initiators, and crustose lichen stage, foliage lichens, moss, herbs, shrubs and the climax. So see here, it is mainly ecological succession we are already discussed in our previous class, that is so how the ecological succession was takes place inside the mainly in a aquatic media, that is a hydrosphere. So today how the bare rock area was going to become utilized, and so it was going to accommodate different types of how it was going to helpful for the living of all the organisms on the surface of the rock. So that was today we are going to discuss. So that was a xerosphere or xerarch, means a xerosphere. So at that area completely the rocks are presented, but so no way the water depositions or no soil area were presented. So those area how it become helpful for living of the trees and also for the animals. So that was the type of development today we are going to discuss, and that should be happened in the bare rock area. So that was pioneers are always crustose lichens here. Pioneers are the initiators. So those initiators are also presented inside the hydrosphere, and in hydrosphere the phytoplanktons are the initiators, those are considered as the pioneers, and here the pioneers are the crustose lichens. So the lichens are nothing but the blue green algae combined with the fungi. So those are considered as the lichens. So the mutual that was the type of relationship we already discussed in previous class, that is a mutualism commensalism. So the mutualism was formed in the middle of the fungus, in the middle of the blue green algae, and both are fused to group together and converted, and completely they are formed lichens. So now those are considered as the lichens. So those lichens are formed first on the surface of the rock primarily. So firstly, so those are the pioneers, those are the initiators. Those are the initiators at that rock area. So the pioneers are mainly crustose lichens. So these are the rhizocapta. So it is a rhizocapta is one of the lichen. So these lichens are example for crustose lichens, are mainly are firstly, so those are penetrate the rock region. See here it is a rock area that was somewhat going to be penetrated, and so that was going to accommodate, so that was helpful for living of the crustose lichens on the primarily on the surface of the rock area. And now what happens is some days of time, after some days of time, so these crustose lichens are going to die. Then immediately the place was occupied by the foliage lichens, means so after the death of the crustose lichens, what happens is so till that so that time any water depositions are not presented, but the death of the crustose lichens leads to cause some humus is formed there, means so those crustose lichens after completion of their lifespan they are going to die. Those are decomposed by the decomposing bacteria. By the effect of that, the humus means soil area was formed. So some less amount of soil was formed on the rock region, Why? Because these lichens are penetrated and lived on the surface of the rock region. So those penetrations are helpful for the some little bit of water depositions are occurred, and the soil region is also formed at that area. So then the foliage lichens are developed at there. So these are foliage lichens. So that is a umbilicana. So that was an example for foliage lichens. So these umbilicana was developed at there. So those organisms are occupied this bare rock area. So after the crustose lichens and again the foliage lichens are developed at there, and a primary organisms, the microorganisms are also developed at there. Smaller organisms or small creepers like ants, like small organisms are going to develop at that area. Why? Because so by the effect of these crustose lichens and foliage lichens, the soil area was developed. When the earth region was formed, then immediately that was so helpful for the water depositions are developed. So the soil was at the time of rainy season, if the soil is there, that was easily squeezed, it was easily absorbs the water depositions. Then so on the rock area become that was utilized for living of the organisms. So step by step, and foliage lichens are going to die. So then immediately those are also decomposed by the decomposing bacteria. So for these time the soil area was developed, increased. The earth region was on the surface of the rock, so it was completely developed. So humus is formed there. The humus was developed on the earth region. So now that was occupied by the moss. So it is a moss, a small so that was the crustose lichen stage, foliage lichen. So those are moss like a small so plants are developed at there. Small moss plants means so those are so without water those are able to live on the surface of that was mainly so in the desert area some plants are lived. So those cactus plants like plants are lived there. So those plants are able to live. So which plants are tolerate so to the water deposition, so those are able to live at that area. So those are considered as a moss stage. So like funaria, So and next so after see here, so it is a rock area, lichens area and a moss stage. After completion of that so small so moss stage it was able to accommodate some other scorpion like crustaceans, like some other snakes. So some other the higher organisms are also going to develop at there. Why? Because the plants are developed at there. So those immediately the organisms which are lived nearby the plants are developed at there. So mass, so those organisms are also going to be die. Then what happens is so those are also going to decomposed by the decomposing bacteria. By the effect of those decomposing bacteria, then so the soil area was the rock area was completely penetrated deeply, and the water depositions are developed at there. By the effect of the decomposing bacteria, the nutrient levels are also developed at there. By the effect of the some rooted plants are also developed at there. So rooted plants are needed more amount of the water and the soil. So these are more amount of the soil and the water are developed at there. By the effect of the herbs, the smaller herbs, the herbaceous plants are developed at there. Smaller herbs or so creepers are formed at there. So those are the herbaceous plants are developed here. So that was biennial plants are also developed. So from those onwards, so when the herbaceous plants are formed, the rooted plants are formed. So then immediately what happens is so nearby those plants some of the other creatures are also developed at there. More amount of the arthropods and also to the small different types of the ants and the different another organisms are also developed at that area. So the some snakes, so remaining some other organisms and birds are lived on the surface of the so those plants are nearby those circumstances. So in these manner, so the rock area how become so that was utilized by the how it was useful to living of the different types of the plants and also for the animals. So that is a xerosphere, and that so herbaceous plants After completion of the herbaceous plants, the lifespan, those are also going to die. And so in these time, so more amount of the soil area was increased, so that was so gradually, so the rock was going to be dissolved. So gradually the rock region was going to be dissolved, and that was converted to the useful soil and the useful nutrients. And then when the soil earth, the soil region was increased that area, then so the more amount of the water depositions are so increased, the groundwater levels are increased there. So when the soil region was developed on the surface of the earth, so it was, what happens is so it was helpful for a spongy texture. So that by that reason, so in the rainy season what happens is the water depositions are there, so immediately the groundwater levels are increased at there. So when the groundwater levels are increased, then so the rooted plants, so the higher rooted plants are also developed. So that is some shrubs. The herb stage, after completion of that, the shrub stage was developed. Shrubs are developed at there, and after completion of, at the end of these bare rock area, the climax stage, the end stage, that is larger trees are finally developed on the surface of the rock. So you already observed, so in the rainy season, so so that was some smaller the mountain like rocks are there. So those are so in the summer season only the rocks are visible for us, but in a rainy season what happens is that was completely greenery, that was completely filled with the green plants. So by the that is mainly that should be happen. So the bare rock area become so resemble like say a forest like mechanism, that should be considered as a xeroarch or xerosphere. From the bare rock area, how it become useful for living of the all the organism, it was completely filled with the larger trees. So climax, so the climax stage is nothing but how you the development from the starting region to the ending region, the pioneer stage, the climax stage, these are the surfaces. How these are helpful also plays a major role for the development of the larger trees. When the larger trees are formed, so those are deeply penetrated the rock region, and the soil region become so developed, and the water ground level and the groundwater levels are also, more amount of the ground level waters are also increased. So when the larger trees are developed in a rock area, then the wild animals are also increased at that area, lion, tiger, fox, and different types of the another organisms are also deer, and the different organisms are developed at there in the bare rock area. So that was going to accommodate different types of the organisms, higher organisms and the lower organisms are also developed at there. The snakes and so that the monkeys, and so different types of the mammals, and not only the mammals, the crustaceans, and also to the birds, and also to the some of the salamanders, and the different types of the wild animals. So those are also comes under the mammals, different types of the organisms which are able to live inside the forest area. So such organisms are able to develop. So from the mainly that should be happen, and started from the bare rock area, how the bare rock area become helpful for the living of all the organisms, not only the plants and also for the animal. So it is such type of development was considered as a xeroarch or xerosphere. Sphere means stages. So that was xero means some desert like mechanism, so rock area, that's why that was called as a xeros. That was a xeroarch and a bare rock area. So it was a complete rock area. So it was going to penetrate by the lichen stage. So completely the rock area. So it was so so it was broken like this with the help of the lichens. So by that level, the ground level water levels are gradually increased. That was completely occupied by the larger trees finally. Though when the larger trees are developed at that area, so that was a complete fulfillment of a bare rock area development, that is a xeroarch or xerosphere was completed. So yesterday we completed, that is a aquatic media. So how the water media was gradually converted to the water levels are decreased and completely converted the soil area that become the earth, and so it was going to at that area also larger trees are developed at there. So there is a climax stage in the hydrosphere. In the same way here also the larger trees are formed, but these trees are formed on the rock area, so a bare rock area. So that was how, so actually the plants are survived, so mainly in the presentation of soil and the water and the nutrients. So the rock area may not be contain any type of the soil area and the water, but that was converted to a useful, that was mainly that become very, so that was also contained a nutrients, that was such type of nutrients and water levels and soil earth area that should be happen with the help of the crustose lichens and foliage lichens, and after that moss, and after that the herbaceous plants and the shrubs, and finally that was completely occupied by the larger trees. The final, so the organisms are so mainly the trees are formed, the dominated so larger trees are formed at there. So that is such type of development was mainly considered here as a, so that was Xeroarch or Xerosphere. It is completely considered as a, that was a fulfillment of development of a bare rock area. So these are completely comes under ecological succession. Succession means succeeding of so organisms. So complete by the earthquakes, that is natural hazards are used to wash out complete the animal fauna and plant fauna from the a particular ecosystem. So after completion of that some years of time, what happens is so after some completion of some years, that was so become converted to an useful area. So with the help of some particular organisms are going to convert so those organism, those media, that is aquatic media, also the forest, that was how those are converted, how those are so completely washed out, organisms are completely removed from that particular area, but still so such environmental status, such was that was the ecosystem was going to be construct itself. So the ecosystem was completely constructed itself with the help of these particular organisms like the lichens and the shrubs and the herbs. So they mainly in the middle of the plants and animals, all the organisms, not only these, the microorganisms and the parasites. So these all are so combinedly those are connected with each other and coexist in a particular ecosystem. Such type of mechanism was considered as a ecological succession. So it is over. So in the middle of a hydrosphere, the main variation, the hydrosphere was takes place inside the aquatic media, and the xerosphere was mainly occurred on the bare rock area. So these are two mechanisms are mainly considered here as a ecological succession. So it is a completely the ecology, that is a population structure, population dynamics. So it was related to interrelated to the ecological succession are over. So it is today's topic. It is completed. We'll meet tomorrow. Thank you.